Hey y'all, welcome back to the It Ain't All About You channel. My name is Brian, and today I want to dive into my opinion of HRC, aka Human Rights Campaign, and whether or not it's actually good for us as a gay community or is it doing more harm than good. So today, that's what I'm going to be talking about. So I hope you stick around and watch the full video, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into it. So, for a very long time, I've been kind of pondering whether or not HRC is actually still good for us. I know that when they actually started the organization in 1980 and got us our rights in 2015, they did a great job. They were really there to help us to get the rights for the gay community, which was awesome. But since then, it's just I don't think our gay community is actually going in the right direction. We keep adding more letters, things get more complicated, and I feel like we're just going down the wrong path. And what I personally believe is happening is money. Money pretty much is, the root of all evil, they say. And I feel like with the Human Rights Campaign, they're kind of the same concept. So what happens to a big organization like that that actually wins the battle that they have been battling for a very long time? They don't need to exist anymore. So they have to find something to keep going, to keep money and revenue coming back in. Because I Googled a lot of stuff on the HRC to find out what was all about the company in more detail. I mean, and they technically employ 716 people. They're based out of Washington, D.C., of course. And when you have that many people involved in an organization and they win, they have to do something to keep the organization going, which is why I think they have been so fixated on the gender madness that we've got going right now. We, as a gay community, wanted us to blend in. We want to be part of society. I wanted to get married. I wanted to be able to live my life and just kind of fit in with society. That's all my friends and I ever wanted. I went to rallies many times to talk about that stuff and to get into it to try to, so we all be part of everything. And I never in a million years thought that we would come to a point where a man in a full beard, long hair, dress, and high heels demanding to go into women's bathrooms and throwing basically tantrums on screen and everything else that they're doing is now what Human Rights Campaign is fighting for. And that's not what the original mission ever was. The mission was for equality for the LGB and some T. And I feel like that's all been washed away at this point. And now we have people disliking the gay community, myself included. I'm not the biggest fan. I feel like there's so much like selfishness and entitlement. They want everyone to cater to them. I mean, like I said, that man who's demanding to go into a women's bathroom who looks like a man still is making a mockery of everything that we fought for and wanted. And yet we have to stand by and allow it to keep happening. I mean, and Human Rights Campaign is still battling hardcore for that. They're screaming for all the trans and all these kids saying that a 5-year-old knows for sure that they're trans. And for me, that just blows my mind. I can't even fathom it. I mean, when I was it like 12, 13, 14, going through puberty, I wanted to be a girl in the worst way. Like, I did not want to be a boy. I wanted to be a girl because I didn't want to be gay, and I was trying to fight the feelings that I had, and I was like 100% sure I wanted to be a female. But then I got older, and I realized that absolutely not. Like, there's no way I'd want to change, my guy down there. Like, so me going through that makes me realize that the young kids don't exactly know. I mean, you can't get tattoos, you can't drink, you can't smoke, you can't even go to war until you're over 18 for most of that stuff. So why are you allowed to have yourself chemically castrated and change your gender and everything? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And I'm going to do whole videos diving into all this stuff because it just keeps going. But I truly believe is that back to like the main character syndrome and what this channel is all about is that it ain't all about you, is the gay community thinks the whole world needs to cater to them. And the Human Rights Campaign is still pushing for that. I mean, some of their statements in here are like they want to work alongside lawmakers to make sure everyone fights for equality for the entire LGBT community. But that whole LGBT community aka the Alphabet Mafia, we're not all wanting the same things. I mean, that's why the whole LGB is talking about like splitting ourselves off. And they've been doing that because the pansexuals and the they thems and all the craziness don't really fit what we wanted or who we are. Like, I am a gay man who likes men. Lesbians like lesbians. You know, bi, you know, they kind of get the best of both worlds, which is kind of unfair a little bit, but you know. And but then you get into all the other ones, like pansexual says you'll have sex with anything, which is basically just bi. So I feel like it's a lot of made up stuff, but it's confusing the rest of the population and making it more complicated than it really needs to be. And then now we're having pushback. And when we have pushback is when we start losing rights and things like that start to really go awry. So how do we fix that stuff? I think we need to basically get rid of the Human Rights Campaign, or need to have them to stop fighting for us, because I don't think they're doing any good for us anymore. That's just my opinion. And I also was pulling up too with their, basically, when you pull up their website, if you Google HRC or Human Rights Campaign, everything across the bottom, a whole page is just all these different links to different versions of Human Rights Campaign, but it's like donation, 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 all over the place. Sign up and start spending your money with us. And again, that kind of goes back to my original point that they are fighting so hard for us because they need to stay alive and stay relevant, which means they need money coming in, which means they need donations. And these people want the money because, I mean, come on, that's what it's all about. And I mean, I pulled up here that in 2020, Human Rights Campaign had revenue of $46 million is what they brought in. And also an additional 19 million in revenue from charitable organizations. So that's a lot of money, like just an insane amount of money in 2020. But we also know what kind of happened in 2020. 2020 was kind of a shit show across the board. But that's when a lot of this just exploded into craziness. Like, you know, a 6'4" man is now dominating swimming and everything else that comes along with it that just became nonsensical. But they're making so much money that they have to keep fighting and pushing for nonsense to keep themselves relevant. And then as of 2024, it says that they, according to Google, that their revenue was 2.84 million. And that's what it's been the last few years when I Googled all this stuff. And it makes sense to me. You think about it, these corporations stay alive because of money. They have 716 people that are employed. They have to pay them all. There's shareholders, there's all that stuff like that. They're getting paid to go around and scream about trans kids and how I identify as a bookcase and I'm supposed to be that. You have to cater to that or you're fired. I mean, and I'm going to make other videos as we go along with this journey too, to kind of talk through what my opinion of a lot of this stuff is. But my overall opinion of the Human Rights Campaign is they're doing way more damage than good at this point. And it's other organizations too. What was the other one here I pulled up? The other one that I was talking about is 1 Million Voices for Equality. It's another organization, which I never heard of. But it's, again, another organization and campaign. And it's money and donations and money and donations. And if you brought in $46 million in 2020, where did it all go? Like, where's all this money at? Like, I'm a gay man and I never got a check or anything, or no one ever came to me to help me with something. So, although I don't need help, I can handle myself. So, but is it opening up little stores and storefronts and whatever to bring in young kids and tell them that yes, you are indeed trans and you're just not a tomboy? So those are all the questions that I've always had. Like, and like I said, money just is the root of all evil for most of these people. They just do whatever they can to get more money. So, which means keep fighting for all the nonsense. So I think what needs to really happen is that we need to distance ourselves from them. And we really need to distance ourselves more from the T plus mafia. Some of the T is great. Like, I know some, and they don't like all of this nonsensical crap. They just want to live their lives. I mean, they want to blend in and live their lives, which is like what we wanted in the first place, was to blend in and live our lives. That's what gay community really wanted in the first place. And now it's just being, I think it's just being sabotaged, and it's going to ultimately hurt us in the end. And now I've tried talking to a lot of my friends or people I know about this in the gay world, and I'm just a monster. I'm a horrible human being, and because I dare question the status quo, and I'm like, just think for a second. Is your life worse now than it was in 2014 before we had our rights? And personally, my opinion is, I think the gay culture is going down. Straight people aren't happy with us anymore. And when that started happening, things go wrong. Now, all my friends and everyone I know and coworkers and everything else in my life, they still think I'm pretty awesome. So that's because I don't shove it down their throats. Me being gay is this tiny little part of who I am, and which the rest of the gay community needs to learn a lesson on that too. So it ain't all about you. So hence why I'm kind of doing this channel. So anyways, I think that's kind of where I'm going to wrap up for today on this. I'll probably make some more videos on this as we go along. It all comes down to, like I said, money and power, and people don't want to give it up. So they create more issues. And this is not just the Human Rights Campaign. Corporations across the globe do this kind of nonsense. But I think it's time for us to start pushing back and pushing away and actually trying to find what we really want in the first place, was to blend in and be part of society, and everyone gets along. So that's what we wanted. So anyways, remember, it ain't all about you. And make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next one. Have a great day.